Okay, well, first of all, on Access. Access does have a way that you can look at the plan and figure out how to use it. But we're going to be using another tool as well. No, you don't have to use this other tool, but I really like this other one because it's a lot easier to use. And this tool's name is, I'm going to show you this plan. And it's a free download, and you can go online to MOSS Tools, MOSSTOOLS. That tool is made by Masha, which is under Access, and MVP. And you can get the download online. I'm going to show you where you can download it at. And now, the important thing that you need to remember is you need to make sure you turn it on, and you turn on the plan before you start Access. Because if you already went on to Access and then you tried to turn on the plan, it doesn't work that way. And I've noticed that you need to turn it on first. So make sure it's turned on. And then you can pick Run. And that will come up, and then you can go into your Access program. I've got it pulled up. And you can open up the form, or go ahead and click Run. You can do queries, and it will show up. I'm going to show you an example here in a moment. Okay, you can look over the information and read for any more information, and you can figure out what to do a backup in the background. I'm going to show you. Most often, you need to do a search, and you need to search for a specific word, like do a scan. And the reason why you do a scan, and that means you're looking through the whole spreadsheet, and that's not going through the index. I'm going to show you or do a demonstration here in a moment. Okay, I erased it, and now it's blank, and now we're going to pull up another one. You see that one that I just pulled up? I'm showing you how to use the index with expression. That is how we do the query, and that optimizes the system and makes it good. It's a simple way to do a search and go through all your data in Access. And you might think that's fine, but what I'm talking about here is the SQL server, SQL server, what it looks like, and how to use SQL server. Okay, here's another sample. Okay, north winds. I'm going to move everything over the data to the SQL server. I don't have to connect to my local area connection. I can do it this way. I can pull up the form, and for example, you can pick anything. And it doesn't give you a whole list, like it's not quite enough information, because it is sending the message to the SQL server. And you're wondering, who's going to help us? How am I going to go through all the data, do my query, get to the SQL server? What I'm talking about here is a situation that occurs like if you happen to not be able to have your Access work with your SQL server, depending upon the environment, you might be locked, you might not be permitted to get into SQL, and that's fine. We have options. I'm going to discuss a little bit of what we can do with the registry. I'm going to show you this now. I want to make sure that I have it open 32-bit, not 34. Okay, when you open that file, like in Access, you do the 32-bit, and then you can look for the information. If, for example, you're going through the query, and then it connects with the software, and then it connects with Microsoft Office, and then you can pull up different options from there. And you want to go under the MV engines. You want to go under the engines. And you have a whole list of options to choose from. They're already set up. I'm going to show you one that's already set up. This one is called Trace SQL mode. You know, it tends to show 0 there, but I already turned that one on. So I changed it from 0 to 1. And then I set one up. And what's going to happen now is it is going to make a file. And the file name is going to be SQL out. And that might be yours. Let me show you my file. There, that is the text file right there. My preference is to use Notepad++. You can see when that's open. Let me show you why. Right there. You have more options. You have a lot of text that you can put, and it's all in SQL. And then you can take it from Access and send it to the SQL server. Not only the SQL server, but it also works with MySQL, and it can connect to other servers. It sends the information. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to start over again. Okay, right there, it's going around. And this is why I prefer Notepad++. You know, if you open up a window and you leave it there, and then you go to make some changes and edits, and then you go back over, you know, the changes might not have come up. You always have to click Yes, and then run it. And you see you've got more options here on the list. What I'm showing you now is this really does work. You can send text to Access, and then you can send it back over to the SMS. I tend to really, you can make a lot of edits this way. Let me show you an example. I made some changes, north winds. And now I'm going to look at the text. Okay, see, that one's better. You see the text? It looks a little bit weird. Well, the reason why it looks kind of strange there is because it's ODBC. The sentence is there that it doesn't really know that it's SQL. It knows how to speak ODMC. And I'm going to click Run and show you what happens. See, it accepted it, the ADC text. And you might think that's strange, but it works. You can run, you can go through the queries, and it will connect with the SQ server. And that's one tool you can use. And if you want to figure out what's going on with your query, why it's running slow, then you can stop and ask some questions, and I can show you via chat. Do you have any questions? It seems nobody has any questions for me. Okay, then I'm going to go on and continue. Okay. Now that I've shown you two different tools that you can use on your Access side, how to evaluate and do queries, and how to show the plan, now I'm going to show Trace ODMC, and this is really important to make these texts. Don't forget to turn it off, okay, because you don't want to write too much and make the files bigger and bigger and bigger. You need to make sure and turn it off when you're finished.
All right. Okay, so let's go back for just a second. Before I show you the example, there are two sentences that maybe you will use, but not always. You know, I don't really know. So the first one that I think is important is the product, the production. Only on your SQL, your SQL. Only there. And the reason being is because these two sentences, if you want to test them, they have to be new questions that you haven't used in the cache before. So that's not normal. So all the time, you know, you unexpect that you'll be able to get into the cache already. However, I know that some of you are going to be a little bit curious, you know, how much I/O, input and output. So will that hold? Therefore, you can use these two options. The first itself is the cache, where everything is saved. Everything is stored right there. It's the products, stored products. The second option you have, I'm very sorry, I have them turned upside down. The second one I just spoke about, the sentences, is that. The first one is for the ADHOC or all of that information right through there. The second one I was talking to you earlier about, it's the saved products. And I think you can put down about 12 numbers, and it will ID them. And then I will show you. Give me 1 second. It will show you the ID. So it's okay to look now. I have connected with the AW, the Adventure Walk. I'm sorry, Adventure Work. I have connected with Adventure Work. So go ahead and take a look at that. You will see the ID. So then I have moved it over to clean it up into the cache to save it, you know, that ID. So it's running. That's the first example. I've noticed that some of you, again and again, have some misunderstandings, and people, are starting to, really analyze the sequel. They're really trying to analyze how it works, what you first see, your first plan, and okay, so yeah, I plan on doing this. It's very important. However, the top number one very important thing, time. We don't care about the exact how you get that data, how you turn that off. We don't care about that. What our concern is getting back rapidly, the time. That's the most important factor. Most of all, while you're analyzing it, you will notice your time. You'll be going, oh, the time is passing. There's 2 sentences. There's, which one will be faster. You'll take a look at both plans. That's really not going to help you. So when you turn on the time, that will help you. When you turn on the time, then you will see how many minutes you have processed, how many minutes you have went through to, ask the questions to test it out. When you turn on the I/O, which is input, output, that's good information. How much reading? I'll give you an example here. Suppose I was to click on that tab. You'll see that there's more options there, informing me how much time that I have processed through. And the very last part, that's the very important part. It's telling me how much time, for questions and activities. If I notice here correctly, it's a total of 15 milliseconds for the CPU to figure it out, analyze it, and then give you 4 minutes to read it, the database. Let me back up again here for just a moment. I told you about the cache. That itself is a very cold start. And to run it in the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth phase, it will lessen it down. But I'll try it again. The first time when I ran it, it was very cold, the cold start. The second time, it's a little bit warmer. And I realized, oh, gosh, I didn't use the cache. I'd say, it's already in process. But it's that fast. You read it, and it's in the cache, within 15 seconds, 15 to 0. And then you got 2 seconds. It's a great improvement. So that's how, mostly every day, that you run your queries more often. You should use the warm cache. Let's just say that you were running it on a very special query, like maybe once a day. I don't know, maybe like to extract or to load or to transform the CTL, running it once in a while, maybe like every afternoon. It automatically does itself. You want to run that test. That's cold. That's the cold cache. You do that because it tends to be a little bit slower, and it's trying to get rid of all the in excess that you don't need on the computer. So, for example, let's back up again to do a comparison between the first 2 that I told you about. It's a perfect situation. I have a great example here. You're analyzing it, you're looking at it, you found 2 different ways. You've gotten the same answer for both ways. Now, both sentences, they each have something just a little bit different, but they come back in the same results. And you're looking at this, wow, which one is better? Which one is better? I don't know. So that's where your time will come in handy. It will analyze it again. Okay, first you will run the query, and then you will look at how it is, in the two sections. The second section, well, the first one seems to be much faster. It's like, 15 to 0 seconds, boom. But compared to the input-output, they have a few different statistics. The first one is, less numbers. That is better. Less is better. Just to kind of get it together. You can scan it. Plus, you can name it whatever you want. You can say scan number 1, and then you can read all of it, the whole schedule. That really doesn't tend to be very well, except you know what the meaning is. You got it all. Most of the time, you really want to use the limited effects and pick your certain, statistics and pull them together. When you're reading the local record, when you're looking at what has happened and you're reading that database in there, that's the memory. It's already in there. You don't have to read the hard drive to know exactly what's going on. It's in the cache. The cache always reads it and memorizes it. Now, the physical reading part, you have to yourself go to the hard drive. On the hard drive, it's always slow. It's the slowest ever. Really, it's by far, very backwards with the physical reading. You can read it, you understand it, it's not bad, but the more memory the server has, then the more saving in the memory. You'll be able to save more. Let's go back again to my first, question with the logically, my second question, the same schedule. If there was only, the one reading, the second reading you'd tend to have less questions, more general, a little bit faster. I'm going to stop for just a moment. I don't want anybody to feel like they're interrupting. So if there's any questions, please feel free to ask now. Please, if you want to ask questions, write them down. Seems like we have no questions still, so I'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so I plan on going over some more indexing. Sometimes when you're looking at your options, you're not sure which one to pick or which one will be more helpful. Most people are very puzzled about that. I'm going to go ahead and run this. Okay, go ahead and just keep an eye. Hold on. Oh, I forgot. It's on time. It's on time. Okay, so right now I'm looking at the schedule and it has no other, indexing. So I'm going through all the schedules and I'm thinking, oh gosh, this is really awful. But let me show you the plan, what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my plan. Okay, so now with all your indexing, your options here, you have you have to do the lockup. If you process that without it, then we have to go over to the index and find that information and go, oh my gosh, all the way back through the options and think about the number. You really don't have the other options because we want to answer the amount. So I see this, I go back over to the second schedule, I look at that until I find the one that matches it, I take it, and then all that information I will compile and answer in the right amount to become the right answer, or, plus the amount for the database. I don't know. Let me see if we're in agreement here. Hold on. I would like to suggest making several things for when you're going in the future to answer things. You'll have your options all there. It wouldn't be like, no, let me see, more of a storage, more of like a storage. Plus and minus, but it means that you don't have to go back and forth to do the comparisons. Okay, I'm making a new section to include all the amounts. Hold on. Seems like it's going okay. Hold on. Now, before you saw the plans that I had, the two plans, there was, the first one was to get all the different options and the other one was to set it up. Now, I'm looking, I was reading that, and the amount was already there. So I went all the way back down and sent it to the next, the other one. It made it a lot faster, but the time has to be in agreement. So let me see. When you start to run it, the query, there's going to be about 718 logical things to read. They're going to knock it down to about 3 logical reads. We still have to scan that one, okay? We still have to. It's a great improvement with the comparisons now. It's a great improvement. So whenever I will show you the sequel, it tends to be called covering index. And when you access the index, it will show you all of them in according to the questions. Let me go back for just 1 second. That itself is the second column. So in that column, everything should be right in there. Good. Woo, it's the covering of the indexing. If it's not there, if the indexing is not there, you could still get help just a little bit. But you got to take 2 steps forward and 1 step onto the side over. So whenever you are, you're designing and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have a lot of questions, I've got 2 or 3 columns, always include them over and over and over. All the questions, include them. Yes, always. Think about how you will make these indexing all included in these columns. If you have so many columns, then it becomes, a little bit bigger, thicker. It's going to run a little slower. However, this isn't a science. This is design. Now I'm going to stop for a moment. Are there any questions? Okay, seems like we're still at no questions. I'll go ahead and continue. Okay. I'm just kind of scanning it right now. Give me a okay. Let me go back to the other situation that I was talking about. Really, I had noticed from my own experience all the time, from before. It's such a great improvement because before in the SQL you had to write it and then it showed up and then you had to, show that proof. So you had the two different scenarios coming back to the same information. One is faster than the other. So for real, for sure, this situation is much easier. This one has the saving the process, so it should be able to compare them better. The first one that saves the process feels like it's almost a double code. It's almost like our first if going through all these different parameters, and then you have, yes or no, and then you have to go to another one. You have to understand. You have to pick all your, pick your choice and schedule it. First, you will have the filter. Then you will have. Oh, this is pretty cool. This is much better right here. This, two sentences that you would normally have and double everything. This is only one. Take a look here. Seems like, it's the same and everything is fine. It really looks like it's working. I'll be honest. It looks like it's the same. Okay, so I'm running all the other queries. So the first query and the second query, each version has the same parameters. So it's 9, 5, 7, which means our expectations and our filters. Okay, so the first queries are, that you see, it's all this written out, SQL, double time. And what we have here is 3 logical readings, a scanned reading. The second one, the second query, seems to be fine with all these statements. It seems to be worse, though, because now we have 300 logical readings. And that's so much worse having to go through 300 and read all of those, or when we include or it seems to be, the filter, checking it out, yes or no, yes or no. Each line, you will see is much more reading. It's a lot higher, it's situated for the lower standard of being more slow for you to read it better. The third query the third one and the fourth ones, they really should come back fully scheduled, just piled up high. So let's see if that happens. Okay, itself is 303 logical readings. That's not a surprise. I'm not surprised at all. We'll take it all, and that's all the data that we'll need. Now, the fourth one. All that information, it's still very slow. You got to do the evaluation on these, and that's helpful when you analyze it. And then you can do the comparison of the plans, what it looks like. Simple, the plans, the plans are very simple. It's the words, trying to get them together, do the research, learn all the different terminology, all the operations, all the plans, and then you can see, all the double sentences. It's a long time, but if, then, what do? We go through each seek, S-E-E-K, and find our options. So we're going to look through the index. We're going to find that one grammatical point, and it's a good one. Second plan, good or bad, really not bad. I guess not bad, but it's not the one that we're going to pick. Itself is a long read. It's all index. It's not a schedule. It's all index, and it's not a very good read. It's all the entire schedule. And then, thirdly, it's what we expect. We kind of think, it's all working. There's no filter. There's no filter at all. So the 1 and 2, they look the same, the first two. Those are the good examples. You notice that plan. If it doesn't help, then you'll see the second plan. Oh, well, what's the difference? But it really is a difference. I'll show you. The logical reading is much more I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Not the logical reading, but the time. The time is different. The time is different on these two. So, okay, I think right here I'm going to stop for a moment. I want to see, do we have any other questions? Do we have any questions right now?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and continue now. Okay, now here's another issue. If you work with a lot of data, then you need to come up with a name, like a perimeter, like sniffing, to get to a specific area. What I mean by that is you're going to write one query, and maybe it runs really good. You get your specific answers you want, and then you run another one and you get lousy results. Well, the data itself may not have been dispersed evenly. For example, the first query runs fine, and then you go back again, and then you do the second one. You've only got 2 lines here, though. The second query is like the same choices, or you might use different numbers, like 945, for example. 257. That's a big difference when you compare the two. In a perfect world, the SQL engine wouldn't have a different amount, but it would have a better plan, and this is what the plan would look like. Sorry. Sorry, I did the wrong thing here. I was pulling up the wrong example. I was hoping to show you the difference, but that's fine. That's all right. We'll go ahead and continue. All three of these plans, they have seek. So you can search for and pick out specific information. And that's a good plan. You can look at part of the data, and then you can move on and go through the other part. Let me show you an example. I think I know why. Let me back up and give you an example. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I see what happened. Okay, the first example I was trying to show you, I had them out of order. I did the wrong thing. I need to keep that in mind. Okay, so the first plan, we only got 2 lines. What happened was the SQL engine was looking around saying, I'm not sure what you're looking for. Maybe just this information, and it ran it very quickly. And then when you looked at the index, it went back, and then it looked at the data. And then it put them together to show you the results. Okay, the second one is almost the same. It has 257 because it put them together. Okay, the third time, there is some changes. And then I was looking at the ID number. Let me back up. Okay, the first one had 2 results. The second one had a lot more. And the last one came back with 4,068. That was a lot more data because they had different shapes. In this situation, you're like, wow, 4,000 something, that's a lot of results. What I would go ahead is look at the index and then go back and look at the schedule and look for a specific column. That is just too much work to go through all of that. There's a much quicker way. I would suggest you just go ahead and read through the schedule because you really don't want to have to look through that huge list. You need to find a way to lessen your work here. Go to the index, go back to the schedule, go back to the index, go back to the schedule. This is a lot of time going back and forth, and it's repetitive. It's almost the same as if you were using like the phone book. Like if you agree, you're going to like the white pages or whatever, and you look through the last name, and then you find other people with the last name, and then you get a phone number there, and then you try the phone numbers, and then you look for another phone book, and you try to make sure the names match up. There's a better way to organize the list. Maybe you don't want to look at the phone numbers, you want to look at the page numbers. And it's pulling up the page numbers and not the phone numbers. So it's like you're going back and forth between the 2 phone books to find the page number, to find the phone number, and then you'll get 2 results. Well, it might be a lot less work than like getting 4,000 results. But I hope you understand why I'm talking about all this. Lots of problems can come up, and you need to make sure that you have everything organized in a way and there's specified paths. Okay, this one is using a specific path, and it's going to direct it to a specific one, and it's looking like in the background. This one will work. Define what I'm looking for. I'm checking for something. Okay, there you go. Okay, this shows you the specific path it used in Access, like the question, like what you want to find on your list, and then it sent it to a specific path. And then that can be that can help with the sense of the problem. I'm going to show you an example. So I'll save that, the saving process. I'm going to show you how we can use this process to go to a specific path and what couldn't happen to show up. See, this you can go ahead and save the process. And if you accept one path, one direction, when I made that save, that process, the first time that I run it is really important because then the engine will remember to use that way, and then going forward, I won't have to make the plan over and over again because it's time consuming and it wastes a lot of time to keep making the plan over and over again. But the important thing is that you do it first carefully, and that's valuable. Okay, at first I use the number 945. And hold on to that just a moment. Okay, that's one with the 251. See that 251 results? And then I got back the same results over and over. This is a good demonstration because it shows you that they agreed when you run it and it remembered what you were looking for, the 945. And so the next time you run it, I'll show you. I'm going to turn the plan on. I'm looking for something. One moment. Thank you for your patience. I'm looking for something. Just a moment. That's strange. Um, Sorry about that. Sorry. I was looking to see if I could find something that I could demonstrate better to send it to the different paths and to show you the value of that. So I was showing you an example 945. So let's go ahead and go back. And you see we have the plan on here. And we agree that the plan has some definite things to do. When I look at the index and then it looks at the schedule, you see it goes back and forth like 4,000 times and you get almost the same plan. So let me back up a minute. Okay, see that plan that we're using? It has a definite index, and that moves a lot quicker than this other one that has to go through the saving process, and that will bring back the wrong plan because there's a path. See, this follows the same plan that's set up on number 945. And I'm going to show you a good example of how this can work. Let me back up again. I'm going to go ahead and make some changes. I'm going to change it back over to time. And that will force it to reconcile. Let me show you. Okay, right now I'm going to go ahead and run with this first. Okay, now it has the plan. And you see you can look right down the index list and you can see the 945. But if I back up and let me show you that first number. This is not what I want. That's the problem that you can go if you don't have the right paths. You've got to agree with the data. You know, sometimes you get back a little and sometimes you get a lot back. And you've got to decide which is best. Some people, they're like, oh, let's go ahead and do the reciprocal, for example. Mm, okay, I put down with recompile. So anyway, it's not like I want to make the plan. If I get a plan that I don't want, I have to throw it out. And every time I run, then I have to start over with a new plan. Okay, see there? Now we have two different plans. That's good. It's not like magic or anything. It doesn't always work. But if I can remember to start and do it right the first time, then save the plan, then I won't have to make it all over again. Maybe a query is very complicated, and then my plan comes back something very small. And then I won't want to save that one if it didn't come out right. So then I would go back and start all over again. Like, for example, something I did earlier. The time?
Okay, that's a good example right there. That's the double code. It has the 3 sentences, the 3 situations, and I feel like, there's more writing involved in that. So we tend to have a really good plan with that, with or without the recompile. So, that problem is solved. Let's move on to the next one, the saving process with all of the information, the data, all the the various sentences, the various information, upper, lower. The best way to do that is, instead of the recompile, it is running itself all of the sentences through the saving process. So it's compiling all the data. The wrong ones. Hold on. Hold on one second. I'm trying to find the right one. I picked the wrong one. Oh, the wrong word. Still a very good plan. It's actually better than all the compiled sentences separately. This is all your options that are recompiled. And which one now? Which one? Which makes smarter sense? I really think I just don't want to touch it too much, I just want to scratch the surface to give you enough information, enough that you will be able to go forward, roll your sleeves up, do a little bit of research, get on the internet, and know exactly what I'm talking about. It's going to help you improve your queries quite a bit. I'm hoping that has helped. I'm here. I'm available. If you have any questions, I'm free. Ask away. It seems like we have no questions. I'm going to go ahead and end the call. Thank you very much. Good night.